Now, before we get into this video, just know full well that I am still working with Arrowhead. I absolutely adore them, and the game itself is absolutely incredible. And I'm making this video because I want the very best for it. There is no hate to be spread across this. There is no negative movement inside of it. Everything that I'm talking is just my truth. So with that, bear it in mind and enjoy the video. Okay, Helldivers, we are back, and with no news on the table, one thing that we do have to talk about is the position that Helldivers 2 holds inside of gaming right now, and the problems that it's actually facing. With a new large patch update coming, and hopefully some new content to boot, there is obviously a lot that needs sorting, and a lot that can still go wrong. There is also a lot that can go right, and if anything is being shown is Helldivers lightning in a bottle does seem to be something that is hard to contain. We're going to talk about Helldivers 2 as an overall and where my position is on what I think about it at its current stance. So with that being said, if you haven't already, smash that beautiful like button and subscribe with post notifications turned on. It'd be greatly appreciated. We're still doing the giveaway here on the channel, so if you want to get involved with that, it's very simple. Head down to the comment section and just put an array of any coloured love hearts you want. It'll enter you in. I'm going to announce the winners on Monday as to who it is that's won that one. With that being said, let's dive into the game and see where it is that we're at with Helldivers 2. And to be able to look at where Helldivers is at and where it's going, we have to look at where it's come from. Year 1 of Helldivers 2 was absolutely incredible, and it was so fast paced with updates happening really regularly. The community team inside of Helldivers actually communicating with the community, and there seemed to be a lot that actually derived. When issues arise, they communicated quite heavily that there was a 60-day plan that got it put into play, which would in turn resolve all of the issues that we had with balance inside of the game. Although what we can't ignore is that there were massive ups and downs throughout the due course of this game, and it definitely caused for some issues in hand. But I think that the way that they actually worked it seemed to be relatively positive, which why we ended up with the we are back and it's over mechanic system of really big highs and really low lows. Mainly because things happened so damn quickly on a term of a turnaround, and things were patched pretty fast, things were moving pretty quick, new stratagems were coming into the loop, Warbonds were releasing every 4 weeks, they've now been expanded to every 6 weeks, and patches are now coming few and far with regards to what it is that they're actually fixing. Take for instance the sickle. Yeah, it's a positive bug for us, but it's a bug that's been in the game now for weeks on end. In the first third of the year, we received the patch update for the escalation of freedom, and now we don't need to talk about that because I think we all know how that one went with its viral tendencies online of how that one actually panned out. After that, what we actually managed to see was a pickup and away it went with the Omens of Tyranny, and the Omens of Tyranny brought in the end of the year with the Illuminate dropping in December via the Game Awards. This was absolutely huge, and this was probably the first insight of a good start to the year that we'd actually seen, and I think I can speak for every Helldiver here when I state that we were genuinely so excited after the way that it had gone for the previous year for what was to happen in 2025. But what is it that we're experiencing in 2025? Well, Warbonds are now longer apart, and with 6 weeks in between each one at least, we're now seeing less items inside of the Warbond. The Warbond itself is pretty small in comparison and insignificant because we can unlock a lot of it very quickly with our maxed out currencies, and even with that, we're now not even getting exactly what we were receiving in the first place. We're now not receiving 3 sets of armor, we're now receiving 2. We're also now receiving less in terms of weaponry, and they've now started putting stratagems in there, which is causing for a bit of a kerfuffle, meaning that what we're seeing is that less stratagems are being released via major orders in game. Yeah, they are very, very few and far apart. That one is a little bit crazy. We receive very, very small amounts of new stratagems, and they come through the MO format because everything is inside of the Warbond now, and they've just minimalized everything else. On top of that, everyone is capped at pretty much about everything. Samples are pretty much capped all the time, the medals are capped all the time, and that means that when a new Warbond actually drops, you just use the medals to get through the bulk of it and maybe spend the next couple of days actually grinding out to get the rest of that Warbond unlocked, to have fun with it for a few more days, to play around with all the pieces inside before we inevitably go back to the things that we were using beforehand, and then move on and wait another 4, 5, 6 weeks before the next one actually launches. Updates have become a bit of a problem inside of the game, and now updates are now bringing in the need for more updates, which is now bringing in the need for more time of less content. Each update is fixing one thing and breaking 4 more, and that is essentially leading to another update which needs to fix 4 things and break 8. That in turn is leading to extended time periods of lack of content where they're having to focus so much on actual patches rather than actually releasing content in total. Are they still working on content? Yeah, 100%, and after obviously working alongside Arrowhead for a little while now, I can comfortably say that the year ahead is looking quite promising, although I don't know how it is that they're going to be distributing that out. If we talk about ship modules, which was something that a lot of us were grinding for in the early hours of the game, that essentially was something that would give us buffs and bonuses and passives along the route of success, and they have literally not been here for over 9 to 10 months now. 9 to 10 months. Let that sink in. The game is over a year old, and we have not received a new ship module for over 9 months, nearly 10. That's absolutely crazy, especially when it comes to the leading of progression and how it is that we can actually utilize that. But that brought in something also different, which was the DSS, and that was something that essentially started working as our ship modules rather than actually unlocking ship modules. We now have DSS passives that we are able to unlock via major orders, and we have to select which one it is that we want, and we'll receive the passive on top of the major order now, and that will now follow the DSS around. Although that's not going to be actually utilized all across the planets, it just follows the DSS, of which the DSS also took months to obtain. And when I mean months, if you weren't there, it took months of just filler content to be able to get the DSS, and it was extremely underwhelming. A lot of people were upset about it. Now what we actually experience is that normally voted planets are pretty much irrelevant because the map doesn't explain exactly how the game operates properly, and they've only just started explaining how Gambit goes on a regular basis via strategic methods. It seems to be something that the DSS is now irrelevant on, and I think that for the most part they are used to probably the worst degree possible because again it's not been explained properly in game. Probably more so for new players than it is for old. If you were grinding out the months of how the DSS was actually built, then you may know a little bit more about how that one goes. And let's say you've got a DSS over a planet. Even then, when you're diving itself, missions have been the same for pretty much as long as I can even remember. Even the larger fortress-style submissions that are inside of there, where you have to go and collect the egg from the mega nest or go and collect the automaton head from the automaton fortress, even those have been pretty irrelevant because those heads and those eggs are essentially more samples, of which we've already clarified we're pretty much fully maxed out on. Meaning that they are irrelevant other than the fact that you get to go into a fortress and take out a load of automatons or a load of bugs. And that just seems to be probably the most positive thing that you can take away from that narrative. We did have a brief change up in mission usages, and that came from the Gloom, and that was not even new missions, it was just primary objectives became sub-objectives, and sub-objectives became primary objectives, and they just sort of switched them around. Now yes, that was a little refreshing, but again, still not really anything new in terms of that when it came to the way the game actually played. We have received stuff such as the Strider convoy, and things have dribbled in a drip feed of content that is really, really slow. And I just think that realistically now, the game has just kind of become a little bit boring from a mission standpoint. The only drops of content that we are actually getting is now from the strains of different automatons, of different terminids that have actually been coming through, and they come in for a short while and then disappear again for weeks on end. The incineration core was probably the first one that we've seen from the automatons, and really the first bit of content that we've seen on the automaton sector for quite some time now. Even then, that was there for a short time and now it's gone. The limited time content. Don't we just love to see it? Right now we are facing the Predator strain, but again, they have not been really inside of the game for a few weeks, and that is something that has just been kind of trickled in and trickled out. I'm fully aware that they are trying to maneuver people around the galactic war so that not everybody is on the bugs, not everybody is on the bots, and they move people around with new content, or at least style of new content being dropped left, right and center. But it just doesn't feel that way anymore. It feels like the things that we want to play against are being withdrawn from us and not being able to actually be utilized. But let's take everything out of consideration with regards to all of that. Let's take a look at how the Galactic War is actually playing out. The two biggest key features right now are the Illuminate with the Wormhole and the Terminids with the Gloom. So let's just quickly dissect those down and see what it is that those are looking like. If we take the Wormhole, for instance, the first ever Angel's Adventure explosion was absolutely incredible. For me on the channel, it was insane. We peaked at 12,000 people watching on a stream and received numbers that I've never ever seen before. At the the end of that stream, I think people understood how lackluster that content was going to be from then on out, as the next planet of Moridesh then started to come through the woodwork, and what we experienced from that was, well, actually extremely disappointing, because we got the exact same PNG image filtration of the planet being destroyed once we restarted the game. It wasn't even fluid in the timer. We actually experienced nothing in that regard. We then obviously had the same fractured planet art style with the same look on it as soon as we went over to that planet. So by the time we actually got to Ibis, a planet we've never even dove on, a planet that nobody has experienced, we pretty much writ out that one and was not even really bothered about the fractured planet coming in play. It was the exact same PNG image utilization again, and the exact same skybox was utilized for the explosion of that. It pretty much rendered borderline useless, to the point where I don't think anybody's even going to batter an eyelid about Nublaria 1 and planets after that until it may eventually get to Super Earth, if it does actually get there and we don't stop it beforehand. For me, that was extremely underwhelming. There was a lot of stuff they could have done with that, and I think that actually the content that they had revolved around that was more so inside of their Discord and Twitter posts, where they had things that you had to decipher and things like Morse code on certain video posts. But the actual game itself was so lackluster that there was, for people who didn't sit on social media, absolutely nothing to look at. The timer hit 0 and you had to restart your game to get a PNG animation. Let that one sink in. Now, if we take the Meridian Black Hole out of way of this, we've got the Gloom. Now, the Gloom has been around for like, what, 7, 8 months maybe? 7 or 8 months. Again, for a game that's been around for just over a year now, this has been made pretty pointless. The Gloom, we've only been able to get into the edge of the Gloom, of which we've experienced the Gloom variants. Now, hopefully there is more to come from that, and we'll actually experience a lot more with regards to it. But overall, it just seems to be a little bit of a weird move as to how it is that they've actually utilized this. The Gloom has been there for so long now that people really don't even give a toss and are not expecting to actually be able to dive into the middle of the Gloom for at least the next 6 months. Like, why should we be thinking that? It's been there for 7 to 8 months and we've ventured into the corners of it. We've not even dove into it. So that's probably the hardest thing to swallow, and a bitter pill that we don't even know is in there is really, really difficult to actually get our heads around. And I think that that is something that we have so tightly gripped onto with regards to these next patch updates that are actually coming. I think that a lot of people are holding on to something really, really big coming into the game in the hopes that this next patch update, such as the Omens of Tyranny or such as the Escalation of Freedom, this is going to bring in the next era of Helldivers 2. And my lord, I definitely hope that you guys are right. I really, really do. I hold a lot of faith towards the game, but overall, at the moment, this second in time, I dive to be talking to you. We go live and we dive inside of Helldivers 2 so that I can speak to the community and I get to chat with you guys on a daily basis, which I'm absolutely blessed for. But when I dive, am I diving to grind levels? As a Helldivers YouTuber that has been a Helldivers YouTuber for the last year and has made this my primary game, I'm not even max level. I'm level 138 because getting to 150 after that expansion that they made of 100 levels led for no need for me to want to even bother. The levels is pretty much pointless. There's zero progression inside of it, and you just receive a few titles, but that's pretty much about it. And even then, I think I can speak for most of us that when a new Warbond comes out and you obtain that Warbond, you want to utilize the title that is the newest one. Therefore, all of the titles running up to 150 are pretty much irrelevant. It's not even a flex anymore to run the title from 150. Like, why is there any levels to begin with? For me personally, there needs to be some sort of progression system with regards to actual content inside of those levels. See it almost as in a level battle pass if you want to word it that way. I don't want battle passes in the game. God Lord, I do not want it to become a Fortnite. But getting to level 125 would unlock maybe a new helmet, or getting to level 150 would release a whole new armor set that only people had at a level 150. Things that actually gave you a reason to grind rather than some words in the bottom corner of your screen that realistically nobody really cares about. I think that right now the game is in a really tragic place of probably a little bit of despair, and we're definitely in the it's over phase, and I cannot wait for the bounce back so that we hit the we are so back. It just seems to be a bit of a dark day right now, and I'm not really too sure how it is that they can dig out of it. Hopefully this next big patch update that we should see over the next month, I'm giving them a month because realistically any more than that and it's absolutely crazy. Hopefully this turns it around and brings us back into the We're So backstage that we've all been looking for a little while. This was a bit of a negative one, but I have to bring a bit of light to this sometimes, and unfortunately it just seems to be the case. Thank you guys for watching, and if you have got this far, put a star in the comment section just so I know. There are still some solid supporters of Helldivers and the channel here on the video. Thanks again for watching. Appreciate you all. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the clouds.